Welcome to On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker here today with Stephen Semenza from the class of 1983. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Glad to be here.
We thank you for coming. So, tell us a little bit about your education here at Iona and how would you categorize it? What was your experience and where did it ultimately lead you?
Great. Thanks, Matt. I graduated in 1983 with a BBA in accounting. I had a really strong, well-rounded education at Iona with some great accounting professors, and it ultimately led me to my first job at KPMG Pete Marwick, which back then was the Big Eight, but is now part of the Big Four accounting firm. And I look back at my 4 years at Iona with a great sense of pride.
That's great. And I know that you have a long family history here too?
Yes. Besides myself, my late father graduated here in 1951. And for my father, it was family, friends, his religion in Iona. And also, my mom worked here for many years. My sister graduated from here. My uncles graduated from here. Cousins. My brother got his master's here. Sister-in-law. So we have a long family history at Iona. And Iona's been great for us. Great to us.
Nice. And any of your relatives, did any of them graduate like 1985 or anything ending in five? Do you know offhand?
I don't believe so. I had one
Okay.
cousin in '84, and my sister graduated in '87.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the only reason I ask is because this year's a reunion year for anyone ending in five. So, but tell me a little bit about your career journey. How did you decide upon your career path, and where did it basically take you?
Sure. Well, my father was an accountant, so I really wanted to follow him into the field of accounting. I also had a phenomenal accounting teacher in high school at Neurshall High School, Mr. Moses, who was very influential in me becoming an accountant. And having, Iona as education and a solid foundation, I spent several years, as I mentioned, at the Big Four, KPMG Pete Marwick. Then I attained my CPA license, and then I spent close to 40 years in the securities industry and commodities industry at a variety of broker dealers, primarily as controller and chief financial officer. For me, I work primarily in smaller broker dealers, which were better suited for me. Although I did spend a little time at Goldman Sachs. In smaller companies, you get involved with all facets of the business, and from operations to back office to legal to compliance. And even in my last role, even though I was a CFO, I became the compliance officer for the commodities firm that I was working at. And, I got to deal with the regulators and a variety of different, regulatory items. Um, I was really fortunate to work with a lot of small dynamic companies. I spent 15 years at a company, Hoenig Group. We took the company public. It was an institutional stock brokerage firm. We took the company public, made a few acquisitions, and ultimately sold the company to a larger firm. I also spent 15 years as CFO at Evolution Markets, a global commodities firm, helped grow the business, and we ultimately sold that as well in 2023.
Okay. All right. Also, this question kind of well, when I was on my way here, I kind of thought of it. But a lot of students nowadays are asking, you know, former accountants, current accountants, like what their advice is when taking the CPA exam.
I think for me, the most important thing is to study, and to go through the various tests and exams multiple times. I think the best gauge for me was when I was taking all the practice exams, how well I was doing, particularly on the multiple choice. And so, there's the four different parts of it, I believe. And so I think that taking and concentrating on one or two parts at a time is also important, especially if you're in an accounting role and you're working at a
Mhm.
public accounting firm in busy season, it's really hard to study. So I think once busy season ends, it's important to tackle the studying and really take a lot of the practice exams. That's for me what worked. There's a lot of online study courses as well that are very helpful because they're very disciplined,
Okay.
and they get you to where you need to be.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about career advancement. In your experience, what are some common misconceptions people have had about career advancement, and how can they overcome these misconceptions?
Sure. In my career, I saw, too many people that were worried more about their title than their job responsibility. For me, I had the same title for 15 years at one of the broker dealers that I worked at, but my job responsibilities increased each year, and that was to me more important. I also oftentimes think that people worry a little bit too much about what their base compensation is going to be as opposed to the job opportunity. Worry about the job opportunity, and then the monetary rewards will follow. That's how I um, acted.
Yeah. No, that's great. Um, so let's talk about the it factor. You've served in many leadership roles throughout your career with plenty of opportunities to lead teams of people. Have you noticed over time a particular it factor that you think helps people stand out in the workplace or get ahead in their careers?
Sure. For me, my it factor was to hard work, always work hard, and to outwork everyone. I have a plaque in my office that says, "The harder you work, the luckier you get," and I truly believe that. And in my career, that really worked for me. I caught a lot of good breaks and opportunities through hard work. That's something I always preach to people that work for me and my children who are tired of hearing it. But I was a big believer in always going the extra mile, getting in early, staying late, doing whatever it took to get the job done. And for me, that's how I operated. I sacrificed, a lot, whether it was working late, weekends, missing out on certain vacations. But honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. And I also feel in a leadership capacity, it's important to treat everyone fair
Mhm.
and honest and be consistent, especially in my case where I had people that were working for me for 10 plus years.
Mhm.
To be consistent with them, I think when you have people that work for you, they're looking for consistency. So I think that's also important when you're in a leadership role.
That's great advice. So, let's talk about your time at Iona. What was your most favorite memory here? And if you can do it all over again, would there be anything that you'd like to change?
Sure. I have really three great memories. I have a lot of memories at Iona, but really the most important is the close friendship that I developed while during my time here at Iona. I have a couple of friends that I'm still close with today, 42 years later.
Wow.
We were in each other's wedding parties many years ago,
Oh, wow.
particular Bobby and Frank. And one of my friends' daughter just got married a couple of weeks ago, and I was at the wedding. So for me, college friendships are priceless.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
I I also became a volunteer Big Brother through the Iona College at the time, Big Brother Club. I was Big Brother to twin boys, and I spent 10 years as a big brother to them. And for me, it was a great experience, and for them as well. I ended up they got it to experience a little bit of normalcy from the various activities that we went on to being going over and eating dinner with my parents at our
Mhm.
parents' house. That sense of normalcy for them was really a great for them, and I think it was also a great experience for me. And the last thing really finally was I was here during the Jeff Rulin era, which was a magical time to be an Iona basketball fan. I'm still a season ticket holder. I go to all the games, and I'm very excited about the upcoming season. The only thing I would change is that as a commuter, I would have gotten involved a little earlier.
Mhm.
The first 2 years that I was here at Iona, did not get involved in any clubs or activities. I was working a variety of different part-time jobs, but I got involved in a variety of clubs and events the last 2 years. And in fact, senior year of the accounting club, we raffled off a brand new car
Wow.
or a monetary reward for a scholarship fund for one of our students who tragically had passed away during spring break. So
Okay.
I would definitely recommend everyone getting involved with a variety of different clubs and activities.
No, that's great advice. So speaking of your time in Iona, what was your favorite course in college and why?
Well, as an accounting major, my favorite course was advanced accounting, and primarily because my professor, Calvin Engler, wrote the textbook. So
Ah,
he was such a great accounting professor, and he made some of the most complex accounting theory very understandable. But quite frankly, I had really a lot of good accounting teachers at Iona. Mr. Polina and Mr. Martin were two who had businesses outside of teaching, and they were able to really translate some of their business experiences onto us as well as the accounting theory that they were teaching. So
that's
it's
great.
great.
So let's switch gears to networking. What role does networking play in career advancement, and do you have any tips for effective networking?
Sure. I think at today's age, using LinkedIn is really important. Joining organizations, trade organizations as well is really important. I believe the more people that you meet during your career, the better off you are, and having that various opportunities. But for me, nothing trumps or is more important than having job experience. I think that's really critical.
No, that's great. So, you are a small business owner. You own a company called Pawfect Brew. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your small business is and what is the most rewarding part about owning a small business?
Sure. So I launched the Pawfect Brew about a year and 3 months ago. We are an online coffee and tea company, specialty grade coffee. We also do a lot of in-person events. It's www.thepawfectbrew.com. But in addition to selling specialty grade coffee, we also donate 25% of our profits to animal rescue organizations, in particular, the Humane Society of Westchester, which is based here in New Rochelle, and New York Pet Rescue, which is based in Harrison. And the reason why we chose those two, or I chose those two, is that over 40 plus years, that's where I've adopted all of our rescues from. And so for me, I wanted to run a business, but also have the ability to give back as well and be part of the community.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know that this past December you participated in the Nurse Holiday Market at the train station. What was your experience with that?
I the holiday market at the station was great. We got to meet a lot of residents from New Rochelle. It's great to have a presence there with all the commuters coming off the train on a daily basis, and also on the weekend. There's just so many people that are going into Manhattan during the holiday season. In particular, there's a ton of Iona students that come in and out going into the city during on Saturdays during that season. So it was great. And as far as owning a small business, the one thing that I really enjoy is the fact that every decision that I make, whether it's sales, marketing, operations, finance, good, bad, or indifferent, is ultimately rest in the decision that I make. So I find that rewarding as well.
Um, Now, I noticed, recently that you had a rooftop pup party at the Rockwell and the Illustrator, and yes, everyone heard that right, a party. um, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And one of the things about being part of the community and giving back to the community is really that if there's any events that a local great two great buildings in New Rochelle, the Illustrator and the Rockwell. I have a relationship with some of the individuals that work there, and they call me whenever they're having a dog event. And so they ran an event for the residents there. They all brought their dogs up, and they ran around and had a great time. And there was a few vendors, including myself, a dog trainer in Dogtopia, and I was able to provide some coffee and also some great Cooper's cold brew, which is named after my current rescue, Cooper. And people really enjoyed it, and I got to meet some of the residents, and it's great being part and out with the New Rochelle community. That's important to me as well.
That's great. So let's talk about mentorship. What role has mentorship played in your career development, and how have you sought out mentors throughout your journey?
Yeah, having mentors for me was a huge part of my career. and also has helped me throughout my life. I mean, my parents, of course, were great mentors, but I was lucky. I always had someone mentoring me. For my jobs in college, when I worked,
Mhm.
helped delivering carpets for a local company, the Prudians, our Prudian mentored me on a daily basis. And also I worked in my uncle's restaurant in Larchmont, the Barons, which was a famous restaurant back a while ago, and I worked for my uncle. And really what struck me about these two individuals who I worked for was how they treated their employees, how they treated their customers, and how they treated their suppliers. And quite frankly, that stuck with me throughout my career. And I always tried to, model myself after these two individuals because of the way I saw how they treated others, and that was important to me. Um, Also, when I got my first job as a controller at a stock brokerage firm, I had no stock brokerage experience. So the CFO at the time, my boss, he rode me so hard for that year. For the first year that I worked there, it was like hell, and I wanted to quit several times, but I figured let me work hard, understand the industry, spend a lot of time understanding the business, and ultimately, it paid off. I worked there for 15 years. We took a company public, and we ultimately sold the company, and that was more of a tough love mentoring, but no less the mentoring worked for me. So
That's great. So Gales Go Further. You've been a mentor in Gales Go Further for several years. Recently, an Iona newsroom piece was done about your experience with Logan and the unique story behind that. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
sure, I've been a mentor now for the past 2 years, and I was a mentor for Logan Balson. He was a senior accounting major who recently graduated. He was a smart, energetic, involved in a lot of different activities and clubs, and he was a great kid. And my work experience lined up with his work experience. So he was also chairman of the Italian Culture Club and was running a fundraiser for Columbus Day. And so that day, I provided some of the Pawfect Brew coffee, in particular our Italian roast, Idolo's Italian roast, for his fundraiser, served the coffee, and he had coffee and cannolis. We had a great day. I met other members of the club, and we had a good time. And I'm still in contact with Logan, and in fact, we're planning on getting together for dinner this summer. And
That's
it's a
great.
great experience.
Yeah, it makes me feel good when the mentors and the mentees maintain those connections even
Yeah,
after their graduation and their time here at Iona.
great kid.
So that's great to hear. So looking back, is there any advice you wish you had received earlier in your career that you would like to pass on to others aspiring for career success?
Nothing in particular, but what I would say for college students is get involved, get involved with clubs, get involved with your community, volunteer, and because employers want well-rounded individuals. Grades are critical, but it's important that you have a well-rounded experience. And I think once you're in the working world and you've been working, I think it's important to ask questions. Um, this is just really from my personal experience over many years. If you're not sure of a particular item, in my instance, dealt with a lot of very complex accounting issues on
Mhm.
accounting pronouncements. And if you don't know something, I think you're better saying, I'll get back to you, as opposed to answering the questions, especially if you're in a large meeting with a variety of people
Right.
and you don't give them the correct answer. You're better off saying, I'll get back to you, do
Mhm.
the research, get back to them with the correct answer. So, it's a minor item, but I think to me it was important over many years.
Right. No, that's great. Um, so let's end with some content recommendations. Have there been any particular books, podcasts, or other content that you found helpful throughout your career that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Sure, my favorite business book, and it's a little older, but it's called Iacocca. It's an autobiography about Lee Iacocca, the former chairman of Chrysler Corporation.
Oh, wow.
Um, I think it's a great book because it talks about how he rescued Chrysler from bankruptcy and some of the tips that he had in the business world, and also really how he gave back to his community and his Italian heritage through the Ellis Island Foundation. So that to me is a book that still resonates today, many years later. And really another book is really from John Wooden, the great coach of UCLA basketball. Again, it's a little bit older, but it does resonate today. It's called Wooden on Leadership. And one of the things that he built was the pyramid of success. It's 15 different sayings that I think whether you're in business starting out or you've been in business for 30 or 40 years, the pyramid of success is just something that I think if you follow, it could guide you through a variety of different issues, whether it's business or non-business. So they're two older books, but I think they resonate very well today.
Stephen Semenza, thank you very much for coming by and coming on to On the Rise podcast. We do appreciate it, and we hope you come back in the future. And thank you for all that you do for Gales Go Further and for Iona. And it's much appreciated.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to On the Rise. I'm Matt Ricker. We'll see you next time.